Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you are tuning into this right now, I am willing to bet you felt it. That heavy, just inescapable sense of modern burnout. We are so often taught to view this exhaustion as a personal failure, right? Like, we just need to get better at time management, or maybe we just need a longer vacation. But what if it isn't you? What if burnout is actually a symptom of massive systemic misalignment? Today, we are exploring a really fascinating framework that reveals exactly why the architecture of our modern institutions is clashing with our basic biology. And as you'll see, it turns out that autonomous individuals, yes, people just like you, are the true organic drivers of societal health.
Seriously, let's be real for a second. Why does modern life feel so exhausting? Do you ever feel like the system itself, whether that's your workplace, huge bureaucracies, or just society at large, is acting as this constant draining headwind against your well-being? Like you're literally pushing against an invisible brick wall just to get through a Tuesday. Trust me, it is an incredibly common experience. But rather than just throwing our hands up and accepting it as the cost of doing business in the 21st century, researchers are actually diagnosing exactly what this headwind is.
So, that headwind? It actually has a name. It's called systemic entropy. Based on the Marcenes Health Capital framework, systemic entropy is the friction generated when top-down institutional architecture fundamentally misaligns with human nature. Think of it like trying to force a giant square peg into a round hole, but on a massive societal scale. Human flourishing isn't something that you can just artificially legislate into existence by adding more rules. It happens when our organic desires are in harmony with natural laws. When a system tries to force that alignment, it eventually breaks, and we feel that breakage as burnout.
All right, so let's dive into Section 1, Coercion versus Human Nature, and the Dysfunction of Manufactured Order.
Picture this: centralized bureaucratic systems trying to engineer social order from the top down. What they're doing is introducing artificial control into organic human networks, and the contrast here is just stark. On one side, you have top-down coercion. This creates a reality where people only comply through reluctant submission. It basically turns communities into zero-sum environments where you feel totally alienated and suspicious of everyone else. On the other side, when rules actually serve human-centric principles, you align with human nature. You get voluntary cooperation, mutual empowerment, and deep interpersonal trust. Basically, coercion creates a really fragile society, while aligned human nature gives us durable, lasting stability.
And the toll of all this artificial control? It isn't just some vague feeling of annoyance, it is a literal, measurable, physical burden. First off, there's biological erosion. Being constantly subjected to a lack of control actually causes chronic psychosocial stress, leading to real wear and tear on your neuroendocrine system. Yikes. Second, feedback failure. The localized communication loops between what you actually need and how the system responds become completely broken. And finally, collective depletion. This is a macro-level drain on societal trust, where the social contract just sort of dissolves, leading to a massive crisis in institutional legitimacy.
So, how on earth do we fix this? That brings us to Section 2, Autonomy as Biology, where we'll look at the Marcenes Health Capital framework. To fix this, we really need to completely flip our thinking. Autonomy isn't just some nice-to-have political preference. It's hardcore biological necessity. It's literally the currency of human flourishing. Think of it as a foundational equation. Health capital equals your investment, which is your individual autonomy, minus your depreciation, which is servitude. When you're forced into reluctant servitude by overbearing rules, that acts as an active depreciation on your body and mind. But conversely, every single ounce of individual autonomy you have is a direct investment in your health capital.
I absolutely love how the source material puts this. When internal desires and intentional actions are in harmony with universal laws, individuals act as effective stewards of their own lives. What the research is telling us here is that acting as the CEO of your own life isn't just a catchy phrase for a motivational poster. It is a critical biological function required to maintain your overall health capital. And that leads us perfectly into the concept of intentionality. This is a crucial protective factor, but here's the catch. It only exists when you are acting as an active agent rather than just a passive subject. When individuals are stripped of that CEO-like agency by overregulation, their intentionality just completely withers. Without the real freedom to choose, the biological systems in your body that regulate stress and motivation literally begin to fail, and you lose the ability to properly steward your own mental and physical resources. Moving right along to Section 3, Weaponizing Good Intentions, and the Anatomy of the Useful Innocent. You kind of have to wonder, right? If top-down coercion is so incredibly damaging to us biologically,
How do massive bureaucracies always manage to capture so many people into enforcing them? Well, the answer lies in psychological manipulation. We have all heard the term useful idiot. It's a highly partisan insult, and it's actually falsely attributed to Lenin. The source material suggests we just drop this partisan baggage completely, because calling someone an idiot is honestly just an analytical dead end. Instead, we need a diagnostic upgrade, the useful innocent. This shift is huge because it reveals a universal psychological vulnerability that affects people across all ideologies.
So what makes the useful innocent so vulnerable? Well, susceptibility to ideological capture isn't a sign of mental weakness at all. Surprisingly enough, it's actually a byproduct of our biological success. As humans, we have hypersocial evolutionary programming. We are deeply susceptible to tribal conformity and moral signaling simply because that is exactly how our ancestors survived. And guess what? Influence architectures know this. They deliberately appeal to our innate empathy for the vulnerable, weaponizing our absolute best traits to convert us into tools for top-down control. Crazy, right?
Okay, so how do we actually break free from all this? Enter Section 4, the zero-cost revolution, moving from paternalism to community enablement. Breaking free requires a fundamental transition away from institutional paternalism, where a distant system basically treats you like a child to be managed. We have to return the locus of control directly to autonomous individuals. As the research notes, the distance between the decision-maker and the citizen directly dictates the individual's sense of power and their capacity to influence their own environment. When policies scale way up to massive, abstract global metrics, you just experience learned helplessness. But shrinking the distance between the decision and the citizen, boom, you immediately restore an individual's sense of power and their health capital.
The best part? Achieving this is totally doable. It's called the zero-cost revolution because societal well-being can dramatically improve at literally zero financial cost, simply by doing less of the wrong things. Step 1, remove bureaucratic friction and arbitrary barriers. Step 2, empower the local social fabrics that naturally already exist. And Step 3, cultivate intrinsic motivation rather than relying on external coercion. We don't need to spend billions of dollars to engineer health, we just have to get out of the way of human nature.
When we finally trust individuals to be the ones driving societal health, some truly incredible things happen. Driven by intrinsic motivation, all those traditional frictions of society, the alienation, the bitterness, the resentment, they just begin to dissolve. People who are free to build their own lives naturally foster a much deeper respect for the equal agency of their neighbors. It unlocks absolutely incredible entrepreneurship and creativity, allowing communities to adapt to crises rapidly rather than just shattering under rigid rules. Homes and neighborhoods are completely transformed from sites of obligation into true collaborative ecosystems.
Which leaves me with one absolutely vital question for you. Are we finally ready to trust the individual? For generations, we have been fed this flawed story that the only way to maintain order is to restrain human impulses from the top down. But individual agency is not the enemy of social order, it is for sure its most durable foundation. Personal self-actualization is exactly what creates a cohesive society. It's time we fully reject the myth of engineered control and realize that you, yes, you, the autonomous, intentional individual, are the true engine of our collective societal health. Think about how you can reclaim that agency in your own life today. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the system.